The debate over assisted dying is contentious, it's deeply complex, and it engages ethical, legal, and social issues. In the UK, the introduction of a private member's bill by Lord Falconer aims to legalise assisted dying for terminally ill, mentally competent adults. And this bill comes at a time of significant public and political interest in the topic, spurred on by the advocacy of people like Esther Ranson, who herself faces terminal cancer and has campaigned vigorously for a legislative change. Her involvement brings a personal, emotional weight to the assisted dying debate. Her advocacy underscores the urgency, the personal nature of the issue for many terminally ill people who wish to have control over their end-of-life decisions. Her public commitment has pressured political leaders, including Keir Starmer, to address this matter more directly and to give his support for this private member's bill, which apparently now is in place. And because of her public campaigning, her public image, the words of Esther Ranson resonate strongly. And assisted dying remains a criminal offence at the moment in England and Wales, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. And this legal framework has led to significant distress for individuals seeking to assist their loved ones in dying with dignity, often involving clandestine arrangements to travel to countries like Switzerland where assisted dying is legal. And the situation creates emotional turmoil, legal complexity for families, caregivers who risk arrest and prosecution, and their stories regularly come up in the newspapers. I think the least we can do, even if we don't go all the way with an assisted dying bill or with full legislation, is to ensure that these aggressive prosecutions are a thing of the past. It cannot be part of a civilized country to be prosecuting people for helping their loved ones to do what they want to do, as long as there's some sort of documentation. Countries like Switzerland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Canada all have legalized versions of assisted dying, providing models for how such legislation could be structured. In these jurisdictions, strict safeguards are in place to ensure that only people who are genuinely in danger of death and who are fully capable of making that decision can access assisted dying. Typically, this involves multiple assessments by medical professionals. I mean, it must be a terrifying decision to make. My own instinct is that this is slightly beyond the scope of our medical practice and the and sort of medical oath to support, but I also think that it's not the role of the courts to harass people who have been instrumental in helping individuals carry out their last wishes. Lord Falconer's proposed bill would allow terminally ill adults to self-administer life-ending medication following assessments by 2 independent doctors. This approach aims to balance the autonomy of individuals with safeguards to prevent misuse. Again, I think, this isn't about helping individuals. This is about avoiding responsibility. And essentially, I think we need to bite the bullet. The bill has drawn criticism for not extending to those with incurable but non-terminal conditions, highlighting ongoing ethical debates about the scope of such legislation. Keir Starmer has indicated support for legal reform, pledging to ensure parliamentary time for a debate and a free vote on the issue. However, there's concern that relying on a private member's bill in the Commons could delay action. A Commons originating bill is seen as a more certain route to achieving legislative change, given the significant social reform implications and the potential for a new alignment of political support. Public opinion in the UK has certainly shifted on this matter in favour of legalising assisted dying, with recent polls indicating substantial support. Movements towards reform in Scotland, the Isle of Man, Jersey reflect a broader trend within the British Isles, suggesting that legal change may be imminent. The debate is therefore at a critical juncture, and with strong public support, high-profile advocacy, renewed political will, there is momentum towards legislative change. But I think the first step in that change is to pull back from these arrests and the harassing of relatives who help their loved ones. It's simply in terms of buying a ticket, a one-way ticket to Switzerland or something like that. These are the nasty harassment of the law. There are many laws which are on the statute books even today, which are not triggered by events, and this should definitely be one of them. Whether we go as far as legalizing assisted dying or euthanasia, that's an entirely different matter. And there will be people on the ethical side of this debate who will talk about the thin end of the wedge, and who will remind people that the first use of gas by the Nazis was to euthanize the mentally ill, the physically disabled, and those people who didn't have a voice to resist. And I think we have to bear in mind that issue and the pressure that elderly people may feel under to opt for such an exit, rather like signing a piece of paper which says, "Please do not revive." I find that aspect of this debate very disturbing. As equally, I find it disturbing that Lord Falconer is suggesting that the patient should be administering their own terminal drugs. So, in other words, somebody can only be involved in assisted dying in that period of time before they are actually beyond rational thought, or before they've degenerated so much. What you actually want, I would have thought, is to be able to take that rational thought while you still have rational thought, and for it to be implemented when that rational thought has pretty well gone, before you're in too much pain. We are pulling that decision-making process earlier, which I think is sad. It's sad, and the only reason for that is to avoid taking responsibility ourselves. I think as a society we should shoulder the responsibility for these things, and we should find a way to be as caring and as thoughtful as possible.